Hey guys, it's Diego from Baca Burrito, and in today's breakfast burrito, we'll be talking about Nen because we did a video on Nen called Nen 101, and where we talked about the basics and some hot Hatsus that we liked, and we even created our own Nen abilities, just the basics. In this one, I'm going to be talking about the advanced techniques, so like Gyo, In, En, Shu, Rio, Ken, and Ko. I think I got them all. I want to talk about these techniques and what they add to the story. What they add to the story, and particularly the fighting in Hunter x Hunter. Why these techniques make the fighting more interesting. And so, let's just get started. So I guess the first one would be Gyo, which I think is the one that almost everyone remembers if you watch Hunter x Hunter. Gyo is when you concentrate aura in a specific part of your body. So like when they first showed us, it was the eyes, right? And what that does is that it helps you perceive Nen that's invisible even to Nen users that are using another technique called In. You use Gyo to do the water divination, and there's not a lot of combat practice for this unless your opponent is using In, which is the second one I'm going to talk about. The second technique I'm going to talk about is In, which allows the user to conceal or hide their Nen even from other Nen users. So, for example, when Karapika used In to hide her chains that were already wrapped, hide his chains, whoa, hide his chains hide his chains from Uvogan, right? So Uvogan couldn't see his chains until he started using Gyo on his eyes. I feel like In is almost necessary to have as a Nen user because, and I feel like I feel like more characters should be using it because it's so powerful. Because it's like being able to launch a full attack, a full powered Nen attack without them being able to see it or sense it, because they can like sense things. So I feel like every character should use it. If you have a Hatsu, if you have a secret Nen ability or something, use In on it. Like just add In to the table. Like just do it. There's no reason not to. Because then your opponent's gonna have to expend aura using Gyo. Just to see your attack, just to sense your attack. All right. The next one, is probably my favorite one, and just because it's kind of badass how it was shown, how Nobugana, I think his name is, from the Phantom Troop, the guy with the sword, the samurai dude from the Phantom Troop, how he uses it, and how Neferpito uses it. It usually plays a big role when it's used. So N is when you use 10, which is one of the four basic principles. I hope you remember that. You use 10 and then you expand it, and you use Ren too, and you expand your aura around you to, like, if you master it, it's supposed to be like 50 meters, but people like Neferpito could use her N for like 2 kilometers, I think, or 1 kilometer, one thing like that. But basically, once you have your aura surrounding you within like 6 feet or something like that, within a range, if something or someone were to step into your aura, even if you're not directly looking at them, you'll be able to see them and know exactly what they're doing, the shape of, what they are, and if they're a Nen user too, because of how your N will react to their Nen. So you'll be able to tell if they're a Nen user without even, looking at them or being even in the same vicinity. As long as they're in your N, you'll know their positioning, where they are. It's a huge advantage in battle. Honestly, it might be one of my favorites. If you remember what my Nen ability is from the last Nen episode, then I'll be utilizing this specific one for mine if I had an ability. So Shu is the fourth advanced technique, and it allows you to cover an object in Nen. So think back to when Gon and Killua were training with Visky in Reed Island. They covered their they covered their shovels in Nen, so they could, easily, it made rock like putty. So they could like shovel through rock even though it's a rock. It's not dirt, it's a rock. Um Nothing too interesting about that technique. I guess it would be useful if you use weapons, if you're a weapons expert, or use swords, guns, I guess. I wonder how it would work with the gun. I wonder if you could. Um, Nothing too interesting, honestly. We could just slide past that one. But the next one is Ko, and I think this one is pretty interesting. I think it's probably the most interesting one, and it's the reason why I don't like Gon's Hatsu, because Gon's Hatsu is basically just Ko. So let me just explain what Ko is. Ko is a combination of both of all four major principles. So Ko is the fifth advanced technique, and it's utilized by using all four major principles. You got to use Zetsu, Hatsu, Ren, and Ten. And what it does is, or what it is you use 10 to choose. You choose the area of the body that you want to attack with, right? You want to have the most potent nen. And so let's say your hand. So you shroud your hand in nen. Use 10. Use Zetsu to close off all the auras around your body, so you're not wasting any aura defending, or it leaking or anything. So you use Zetsu. Then you choose the part of the body you're gonna attack with. Use 10 on that. And you use Ren to power it up, and then you use Hatsu. And for example, it's basically like Gon's rock ability is basically just Ko. But so like every character can do Gon's rock ability. Is just that rock Gon's an enhancer, so his is gonna be stronger than everyone else's. But it's such a basic technique that's I think it's so bad as a Hatsu. It's why I dislike Gon as a character. I think he's one of the least interesting characters in the show, and his Nen abilities almost show why he's the least interesting. It's like goes in tandem. It's like his Nen abilities aren't interesting, so like he's okay. Well, let me not fucking say that. I'm not. Let me not talk about Gon. Let me not. I'm just about Nen. I have a whole thing about why Gon just isn't a good MC. Killua is so much better as an MC. So is Karapika. Um, but let's just stick to Ko. So that's Ko. Thing about Gon's ability, that's Ko. It's not that great, but it adds a layer to combat, I guess. Next is Ken, which is an advanced version of one of the four principles, Ren. Um, Ken is really just Ren, which is just powering up your body and holding N10 and holding the aura around your body for like defense. But Ken is 10 times stronger than your 10 would be. So I mean just use Ken, I guess. There's not really any interesting applications for Ken like there would be for In and Gyo and even Ko. Um, but I guess we could do Ryu. We could talk about the last one, which is Ryu. And I think Ryu is I don't want to say it's used in one arc, it's used in every arc, but you just don't see it. It's like after it's explained to us, it's implied that it's constantly being used. And which Ryu is you use Ken, you use Gyo, you surround your body in your aura, but you choose one that you want to protect more than others. So for example, I could put 80% of my aura into my fist to make it more powerful, and then have the other 20% of my Nen surrounding the rest of my body. So that way I'm not completely, defenseless, and I can still, pack a good punch. Um, it's interesting how it's used, because when we saw Gon and Killua training for it, first they had to go slow and they had to predict or perceive the amount of aura. So like for example, when Gon would block Killua's kick that has 50% of his Nen in it, and he would block it with his 50%. If he perceives that 50%, he's gonna block with 50% of his Nen, right? And it adds an interesting thing, because now it's like you might have more aura than me, but I can perceive where your aura is going, so I know where you're going to attack. I know how to block it, and it makes for more interesting, instead of it just being like, oh, I have, my power level's 9,000, so you can never beat me. It adds a sort of your power level might be better, but I know how to perceive Nen better than you can. I know how to distribute my Nen better than you can, so I do have a chance, even if you have more Nen than me. It feels almost like a martial art. That's what Nen is. It feels like a martial art, and that's why I feel like Nen is probably the best power system in anime. It's so in depth, and these advanced techniques add so much to every fight. When Karapika was using In to hide his conjured chains, my mind was blown. I was like, yo, they literally showed us, talked about in, and we saw one of the other Phantom troops use in, and now Karapika's been using in this entire time. Like, what these advanced techniques do is the they add a sort of complexity to the writing and the way Togashi can write his fights. It adds more interesting aspects to the fights where it feels like these characters are actual professionals. Because now we know that while they're fighting at these high speeds, they're calculating and perceiving the nen aura of their enemy and the nen aura they have that they're expending. So it's like it adds like you now you know like how smart these characters actually are because like like how would you even it makes it more impressive. It makes the fighting that much more impressive because instead of just reflexes, how strong and how fast, it adds a level to intelligence to the fight without having to actually without actually having to express that intelligence. Does that make sense? Without actually having to give a lot of exposition, because he gave the exposition for Rio once, and then now we're just supposed to assume that every fight after that they're just calculating what the aura types are because they're professionals, you know. Well, those have been the advanced techniques. I hope you enjoyed these explanations and examples, and I hope you now maybe agree with me a little bit on why these techniques help Nen be the best power system. Um, Not my favorite power system, but definitely the best. The best. I don't want to say best written, but like maybe I don't know, something like that, something along the lines. Well, this has been Breakfast Burrito. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe. Peace.